make another video again. I tried to upload one a few days ago and there was no sound, and that's okay. We'll do a little quick update here. Today is June 8th, 2026, and we got the drop finally. Pretty good drop, honestly. I was thinking maybe we'd get, a setup in here. I mean, we did get one candle that I got in on. It was this tiny candle right here. I saw us breaking down here, and we needed to chop sideways. There was an entry here I played, got short on this candle because we chopped into the moving averages as they were coming down. And then they came down to my trend line that I had drawn back since February, and we chopped. We got to the trend line, and then we chopped a few days, and this was a Saturday candle, and this was the Sunday candle they put in. And this was also the last candle of the month, so it was a small candle, had a higher high than the previous day. Here come the moving averages. This was such a small candle that I ended up playing it just because, it's a good candle overall. Very small candle. I like playing the small candles. Putting the stop up here, leveraging up, once it breaks the low of this candle, and then letting it ride. I was a little worried, though, that we had a new weekly opening up. We had a new 3-week, and we had the new monthly. So I was thinking maybe we could, I don't know, maybe come up. But, I mean, the moving averages were right there, so it was just ready to go. I mean, this little wick right here was the upper wick of our month, of June so far. So, they basically right off the bat, that Sunday night, they started dumping it right as soon as the new month opened. And we broke the trend line, and then we've been down ever since. And, if I zoom out, you can see how long this took. Finally, I talked about it for so long. I was like, this is a bear flag. This is a rising wedge, whatever you want to call it. It's a bearish formation, much like the one back here. We get downward movement. We chop sideways to up. So here's our bear flag. Right here, dump. Get another flag going, bear flag, and now we're dumping again. And and we reached down to, what did we get to? 59, I think. 59,130. Yep. So right there, 59,130 down here. And that's kind of where we've, bottomed so far. But overall, I don't think that this is a bottom. As you can see, we didn't really have one big wick down and then a huge rebound. I mean, the body of this candle that was our lowest day, the body is still bigger than the wick of the candle, and it's red, so if we go back in times past, kind of when we have found like back here, this was a green candle, but it was such a big green candle that it's just hard to, I don't know, it's hard to trust that, that this is a bottom. We'll get a 1-2 and get back up, especially when we started creating this upward pattern. What I like to see is, if we were going to get up, I would like to see us to get a day down and then chop around for a week, come down again to about the same level as where we got that initial drop, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, and then get up. But I knew that this was kind of, this price action back here was still bearish because we were chopping up in this, rising wedge, bear flag, whatever you want to call it. It's bearish regardless. So, I didn't see that this was a bottom. And based on the Bitcoin yearly candle and the monthly, we still ended up getting there were clues saying that, we're still not done to the downside. And, I still don't think that we are still done to the downside. I mean, Bitcoin's, we're still below the daily moving averages. We're getting up off of a red candle here on the daily. And this is just the daily. If we go back and look at the weekly that we got, it's a big red candle. And so we just opened up last night. We're starting to get our upper wick for the weekly. moving averages are starting to cross, so it's kind of like this candle back here, only this is a bigger body candle. So I don't think we're going to necessarily chop for this many weeks before we head back down again. It could be a few days. I don't know. It could take a couple weeks to let the weekly moving averages catch up. This is a big trend line that comes across here in Portland area, and that's kind of where we're at right now, playing around with it. So I don't know. This could take a couple days. This could take a couple weeks chopping around on this trend line before we, I still think we have a shot to come down here to that 48, 49, 50K area. I was looking at the, what was it, like the Kalshi or Polymarket or whatever does the trading, and it was like I saw like most traders were betting like 60-70% chance that we reach this, I think it was like 48K level. And then there was like I don't know, 30%, 20% that we come down below 40 or something like that. It was just kind of interesting to look at the odds, like the betting odds of where we would get with Bitcoin this year. And I really do think that we are going to end up coming down into the low 50,000, high 40,000 area, and then, maybe find a way to get back up from there. I mean, we're halfway through this year already, and, at some point I would like to see us get back up, and I'm hoping that we can start to do it maybe, towards the third and fourth quarter of this year and get back up and get that green yearly hammer that I've talked about. If we just look at this and we turn off the short-term trend lines or whatever, So this candle, just looking at it, this yearly candle that we've got right here, it's not a big candle yet. They're compared to some of these other candles, and I know I've talked about this in other videos. Look at some of these bigger red and green candles. Like, look how big they are. And, honestly, it feels like a lot has happened over the last year or two with Bitcoin, but the price movements really have not been that crazy in Bitcoin the last 2 years, So this candle still probably could come down a little bit more and get a little bit bigger. So it's not that big of a yearly candle. And here's our ADMA right here, and it's right at that 48, 49,000. That's why I really think we're going to come down here. This is our ADMA, and usually when you get a reversal candle, you end up pulling back into that ADMA at some point. So I really am strongly thinking we come down to the 50,000 level, right around there. I don't know what it exactly will be. It'll be probably between 46 and 54. Maybe we come down and wick down to the green 10 SMA, which is right around that 40K area. I mean, somewhere, I think this year we're going to come down here. And then at that point, this candle will actually be a decent sized candle compared to these other yearlies. If we come down and we can measure it here, like let's look at this red candle. That was, let me zoom in, make it easier. Let's zoom in here, on here, from upper wick to lower wick. That's 212% right there. So where are we at right now? If we go to the upper wick to the lower, that's only 40%. And if we came down to our ADMA, that's 50, and our 10 is 60. So, I mean, not nearly as big a candle as this, but the reason why the percentage move is so greater is because Bitcoin was at a smaller price, and so that's a lot more movement compared to what it would be, right now. If this were the same size candle, this would be a bigger percentage move if these candles were the same size. 200%, 30% move in a year, and we're at like 40% move in a year. So I still think, we could come down more, you know. I don't think we're completely bottomed yet. I don't. I mean, we're getting up off of a red on the daily. And I do think, we'll come up and here's our ADMA and 10, and we'll probably like come up into them and chop around and set up. I mean, we do have a 3-day green hammer about to close today. So, it doesn't have a lower low than the previous, but it's, almost equal wicks. It should be able to come up for a few days, get a little relief rally going. Here's our green 2-day hammer we have, has some room to come up. And then our daily, we're just getting up off of a red, but, almost a neutral candle. So I definitely do think Bitcoin can probably get up for a few days, and stay up, and then probably chop around for a little while before possibly heading lower. And our month of June just opened up. So if we look at the monthly on here, that's a pretty good sized candle already, and we're 8 days in. And if we look at this candle compared to other candles, like it's not quite as big as this, but there's still 22 days, 10 hours left in the trading month. So, I mean, that's already a pretty good sized candle. Let's look at other here's a pretty decent sized red candle back here. So from top to bottom, that's 45% in a month. Where are we at right now in this monthly candle? We're at 18, so almost halfway to the size of that candle. I mean, that's a big candle. And there's a big candle there. It's probably like 30-40%. So, I mean, it's a big candle, but, we still could have more room to come down. And look at this. I think I talked about it in the last video that didn't get recorded. Look how beautiful this red inverse hammer is on the monthly, with the moving averages crossing the 20. You chopped up into it on the monthly and then got the red reversal, and then look what happens. You just dump. Like, you get a perfect candle setup like that, and this is what happens. Like, I was thinking maybe we could get a little upper wick to start the month, but no, they were just ready to send it. So, I mean, if you ever see candles like this with the moving averages rolling down through them, you get a descending price action, and then you rise up as the moving averages pull down, or falling down as you're coming up into them, and then you get your candle. This is your candle right here, your monthly candle. You put your stop up here, and then once the low of this candle is broken, you're in your trade, and then usually you'll get a couple months down too. So not to mention that, look at this red reversal up here. I know the moving averages weren't right to just blow over at this point, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4 months after that reversal. This is month number 1. And the moving averages just crossed on the monthly. So, I mean, it's so bearish on Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is so bearish right now. It's going to have to fight back up to pull these moving averages back above the 20. But, I mean, we're talking that we could see another month or two down, possibly more on Bitcoin based on, how it goes. Let's see if I can find another example. I mean, here's kind of an example of where it only took 1 month, and then the next month they got a new low, got it up, got the hammer, and then went. Like, this is kind of what I'm hoping will happen right here. I know the moving averages aren't the same as what they are right now, but even on this, like the 8 and the 10 are below the 20. You get your red reversal, higher high. Kind of like this month, you get a big fat red candle, and then hopefully in July we get a new low, breaks the low of this candle, we reach our bottom, and then get up and get our green hammer, and then pull the moving averages back above the 20, and then go get up, get your green near the hammer, and then send in 2027. That is the hope right now. So I don't know if that'll play out exactly. These monthly moving averages just did cross over, and usually when that happens, it could be a long while. Like, look back here when our moving averages cross. Look how long it took. These are monthly candles. So these are months of period of time. here's your, here was the initial, like, if we think that this is similar to recent, this candle, pretend that, this candle right here is this candle. Look how many months it took to come down and finally find a bottom down here before getting up. And this honestly wasn't even a great, monthly setup to get up off of. It had to come up and then chop around and finally get its green candle with a lower low to get up off of. So, I mean, I don't know. So if we look at it like this is basically where we're at right now. Like right around, let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're like somewhere probably down here. So it may take another few months to find a bottom, maybe another candle down and then chop around down here. I don't know, right around that 48,000, we kind of chop around and then maybe get back up. I don't know how we're going to do it before the end of the year. And it could be a thing like we get a red yearly. So if we go back and look, maybe we get a red yearly on Bitcoin. Maybe we come down and we close low at the end of this year, like December 31st, we're closing at the bottom of the candle. Maybe next year we drop just a little bit to begin the year and then get back up and get a green hammer. And maybe 2028 is the year to blast off of. So it'll be interesting. I don't know how they're going to do it, but there are some patterns, playing out other than Bitcoin on altcoins that look like altcoins could make a move later this year. I know things, and altcoins can still come down a lot until then. Where is it where I had a pattern wrong? I know there's certain cryptos that have pattern. They have like falling wedges that actually look pretty good. Not Total 3. Total 3 actually doesn't look that decent. I think XRP had one. Yeah. So XRP's in this, falling wedge that, could take a while to. XRP's falling wedge could lead to a later, next year run. If it comes down here and then gets up, or maybe 2027. Maybe later next year. But there's important levels right here where if these break and it comes down, it could fall out. So I almost kind of want to see it come down later this year and then get back up and then start getting up and get a green yearly hammer and then go, in 2027. So if we zoom in here, it's kind of in a channel. This probably isn't my best pairing. Yeah, there we go. Had a symmetrical. So we were falling down, and then we kind of had this symmetrical that we chopped into. Got really tight in here. They put a fake out to the upside and then dumped it. And then, I had this drawn back here, this little, and then once that broke, that started dumping. But we didn't quite come down to my 90-cent area. We got down to $1.05, it looks like. And now we're getting a little bit of relief to the upside. But, this trend line down here, I think at some point will get tagged. It's got touches coming back here, 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 here. It didn't quite come all the way down there. But I'm fully expecting 90 cents, 80 cents, 88 cents, somewhere around there to come down to at some point, and then hopefully get back up. This was nice back here. little double bottom down there and got up and went. This is kind of what I'm hoping to see. Only fill in more, like we come down here and then get up. This was nice back here. This move out of here, that was really nice. So it may just take a while. It needs time to develop its pattern, and once it gets the setup, it could go. Let's see what else. XLM. Come on, zoom out. So the XLM's, forming a nice little pattern. And it actually got up off of some red candles the other day. I don't know if there was news or something. But, XLM, still holding its overall structure. Even with a lot of these alts being beat down so badly, like, they're still holding a lot of their structures. Some are and some aren't. Let's see. How's Doge looking? It's still got like I don't even want to call this a bull flag because this is so extended out, off the move. Usually a bull flag wouldn't be this extended. But we're at an interesting, spot on Doge. There's this trend line that comes across right here, has all these touches. And it got close to it. Didn't quite make it. This might not be a bad buying spot, for Doge for the long term. It still looks bullish overall. Anytime you get a move and then you coil for a while, usually you'll get a big move out. And that's how it goes. We're forming something, in here. If we tighten this, tighten that, maybe we got a little double bottom thing right here on Doge. You look, we got our one, oops, let's undo that. We got our 1 or 2, and if it heals and comes back in here, gets up and coils, like, maybe we test up here to this trend line, come down one more time, and then go. Maybe in 2027, 2028. So just something to watch, keep an eye on, Even with, all the bloodbaths out there, all it's getting destroyed, like, there's still some hope out there. Like, these longer term structures are still there intact. ADA is not looking as good. ADA's kind of been falling out of bed here. Not holding up as well. It really got beat down. So I don't know. I guess we can pull this trend line down. Let's see here. As an area to possibly come down to. Get like some 10-cent ADA down here. ADA, Cardano. At some point come down to. Had a nice little, thing kind of going, but we never really got a touch up in here in this area, which I would have liked to see. If it was really, better coiled. So it's kind of fallen out of its structure here, and it's got to really heal itself, get back in here and coil and go if it, wants to make a move. H-bar, a lot of these alts are kind of at the same area. They're at like, 2/3 the way through their long-term pattern. This goes back to, December of 2020, and this is 6 years of coiling in here. So, it takes a while. Could be another couple years till we see a big alt run. Let's see what else we got. I think it was crypto called People I had my eye on. Yeah, because it's got a nice falling wedge on it that I'm watching. And if this, we kind of almost have a double bottom right here that I wouldn't mind. Like, this is actually pretty bullish. Like, this kind of downward coiling right here. If we can get a daily, somewhere, I don't know, in the next week, 2, 3 weeks, maybe a month. I don't know. Maybe it'll have to come down into August, September. I don't know. But if it can set up, and start to get up, people could make a big move. Big move. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of move it can make. And it can probably come back up to this trend line. It's got a touch there, a touch there. Can we get a third touch up here? And then, I don't know, coil for how many years and before it makes an even bigger move. But so this is a 2-year pattern, February of 24. So almost 2.5 years of coiling in here. This would be something to keep an eye on, just because there's multiple touches on that top trend line, and there's multiple touches on that bottom trend line, and it's starting to get pretty close to the apex in here. If we zoom back in, we're at June 6th, and the apex is November. So I don't know how tight it'll get in here, but if this starts to give us a green candle around this trend line, we get any sort of hammer, in any sort of inside candle, any sign of an indicator that we've got a green weekly, a green monthly, a green daily with the moving averages rolling up, I'll play this and I'll leverage up, because this could make a decent move higher at some point this year. So I'm watching people. Definitely got my eye on it. I'll be watching it. That was one of the ones I was trying to show that had a nice, structure to it. Falling wedge. Turbo. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how well I have this drawn, so I don't want to put too much weight on it. This is an interesting level right here, where it's trying to hold, where if it doesn't hold this level, we could see a pretty good sell down on turbo. It's actually a pretty big level, and it's cracked it, and it's sold below it, but we got a green hammer trying to fight back up above it, and then this trend line moving down, so we could see a big move at a turbo up or down. It's really hard to tell. I'll keep my eye on this. And this is a 3-day candle. If we go back out to a daily, let's see what we're working with here. Yeah, it's just trying to fight this trend line and this trend line. There's one coming down, there's one horizontal. Interesting area for turbo to watch. ZEC I watched absolutely get destroyed. Oh my gosh. Look at this. 60%. And this is like 10-10. This is like the crash of 10-10 of last year. 60%. 61%, something like that. From a few days ago. This was last Thursday. Off of a green candle too. Wow. Just dropped off that green candle. Absolutely got beat down. The moving averages weren't even right. This was wild. This was absolutely wild. I can't believe that. So that just shows you got to have a stop loss in place. Look at this back here. I know I've talked about this pattern before, but this was so nice. I don't think I played this, but I had it drawn, and I wish I would have played this, because I think there was a daily candle in here that was just really nice. This green hammer right there was really nice. That would have led you on your way. If you're playing that, moving averages rolling up, green hammer, lower low, flat on top, perfect. You can put a fake out red, but then they give you another green hammer to play. Boom. What a move. That was really nice. But yeah, just the EC got beat down. I don't know what else to talk about. I mean, a lot of these cryptos are in the same point in time. It looks like they need more time to go through their patterns. Anything else that's really popular? Pepe. Yeah, look at Pepe here. Pepe's almost got something similar going on that People has, the crypto People. Touch there, touch there. some play around it there. It's got a little, falling wedge. Pepe's something to watch. I mean, it's been kind of coiling downward for a while. Could make a big move out of here. I don't like this trend line necessarily. I'll have to fix this trend line. But, yeah, it'll be an interesting week ahead. We'll see what Bitcoin can do this week. It may have a chance to, put in maybe a green weekly, and then maybe the following week we get a red and then dump some more. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Or maybe we just get up for a couple days, get a red reversal, and then head back down, and keep with the trend of red weeklies. Bitcoin just doesn't look good. And, until things change, I'm still very bearish, and I'm going to be looking for selling opportunities on Bitcoin when it presents itself. I did take full profit on my trades once we got down to, it's probably this candle. Once we started getting around this trend line, I started taking profits. I mean, it had already made a pretty, decent move down from where I got in, to that trend line. I took right at 15%. I mean, can't complain about a 15% move, or I'll take profit and I'll wait for the next daily candle to get into. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Still pretty bearish out there overall. And I'll make another update video as things change. All right.